How's it going, everyone? Welcome to Dysfunctional Commentary. Today, I want to talk about a subgenre of horror film, and that is anthology horror. Anthology horror is a horror film where there's a series of short stories, and oftentimes there is a central theme or story in the film that kind of connects it all together. An early example of anthology horror is Tales from the Crypt from 1972, followed by Vault of Horror from 1973. These are both based on EC comic book series, and Tales from the Crypt was obviously then later turned into a successful show on HBO. It's one of my favorite TV shows of all time. And these are very good anthology horror films. I think most people are probably familiar with the Tales from the Crypt TV series, but I don't know if a lot of people necessarily know that it was originally a film from the 70s. And if you are familiar with the TV series, and if you're a fan of that series, you'll probably recognize some of the stories that are in these movies. But I had actually never seen these before I picked up this Blu-ray. This is a double feature release from Scream Factory, and it's well worth checking out, especially if you're a fan of the Tales from the Crypt TV series. This is definitely a movie you want to check out to see where some of the origins of that series came from. Tales from the Crypt and Vault of Horror, definitely worth checking out. Great anthology horror films. Later on in the 80s, we got Creepshow. And I think when most people think of anthology horror, this might be the movie that they think of. I love this movie. It is a great movie. And they took the comic book origins of Tales from the Crypt and Vault of Horror and really just went with it. There are some scenes in this movie that actually full-on emulate like a comic book panel. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Either way, though, I love this movie. It is a ton of fun, and I will definitely pop this one in from time to time if I want to just have a good time while being scared as well. So this is a really cool collector's edition from Scream Factory. Again, it comes in a really nice, solid outer case, and inside you get the Blu-ray as well as a really nice book with all kinds of information, photographs, some artwork in there as well. Really, really nicely done. And yeah, as I said, I just love that movie. Definitely worth checking out if you've never seen it. And then that was followed up by Creepshow 2, and this is the Arrow collector's edition release. There is a limited edition release from Arrow, which I did not pick up because by the time I got around to getting this, the limited edition was out of print, and it was fetching a pretty high price. So I went with this one, which was still in print at the time. This is also out of print now and is also fetching a pretty high price as of now. But both Creepshow 1 and 2 have standard Blu-ray releases that are very easy to track down. So Creepshow 2, I don't enjoy it nearly as much as 1. I think 1 is the better movie, but it's still a fun movie. It's still a good time and a nice companion piece to the original. A more recent anthology horror film is Trick or Treat. This is the standard Blu-ray release that I picked up years ago. There is a really nice collector's edition from Scream Factory again. I have not yet picked that one up. I probably will at some point because I absolutely love this movie. I will pop this in every Halloween. When it comes to films to watch around the Halloween season, I don't really think any movie that I can think of really captures the season and the spirit of the season really better than Trick or Treat. Trick or Treat is the quintessential Halloween film. Definitely worth checking out if you've never seen it, and definitely worth watching around Halloween. Trick or Treat. Great anthology horror film. Now, the reason I really wanted to talk about anthology horror now, as opposed to some other point, is that there was an anthology film that came out last week that I picked up and just got around to watching, and that is Nightmare Cinema. I saw this at the store, and I really enjoy anthology horror, but it's not really a genre that we get all that often. So when it pops up, I like to check it out. And so this was at the store. It wasn't very expensive. I decided to pick it up and just give it a shot. And I'm really glad that I did because I really enjoyed this movie. There are 5 short stories in this movie, and the first 3 in particular really have a wicked sense of humor. And I really enjoyed that because it's kind of reminiscent of films like Creepshow or Creepshow 2, or even Trick or Treat, or even Tales from the Crypt. That kind of, yes, they were horror films, but they had a sense of humor about it. They didn't necessarily take themselves so seriously. They realized that sometimes you can scare somebody, but also have a good time doing it. And that's really what Nightmare Cinema does, at least for the first 3 films, or for the first 3 stories that are in the movie. The fourth one doesn't really have that same sense of humor. It does a little bit, but not nearly to the extent that the first 3 do. But it's also very good, and it's kind of just creepy. It's more about being uncomfortable and creeped out. That's the fourth one. The fifth one is, I believe, the weakest of the 5 stories, but it's not bad. I just think when compared to the other 4, it's the weakest link. So the central theme that kind of ties it all together is that there's a theater, and the projectionist at the theater, played by Mickey Rourke, is kind of a supernatural character of sorts who is in charge of keeping and projecting these nightmare scenarios or visions of death that for some reason or another are imprinted on celluloid film. And the people who have died or going to die are shown these visions by Mickey Rourke's character. I did say that the 5th story in the film was, in my opinion, the weakest link, though the theme that ties it together, the theme of the theater, while interesting, I didn't think was implemented terrifically. It's not that it's bad, and it doesn't ruin the movie. Regardless, the movie is highly enjoyable. I don't want to give the impression that it makes it a bad film. It doesn't. But I feel that the concept was better than how it was implemented in the film. And Mickey Rourke is an actor who is definitely capable of bringing life to a character like this. And I don't know if it was that he just wasn't given anything to work with necessarily, but it felt like there was lost potential there. When you get a talent like Mickey Rourke in a role like that, there's just so much potential for it to be fantastic. And unfortunately, he was just kind of there. And again, not bad, but could have been so much more. But regardless, Nightmare Cinema is a really fun anthology horror film, and definitely worth checking out if you're a fan of the subgenre of anthology horror. If you like movies like Creepshow or Trick or Treat, then this is one to check out. Definitely worth checking out. Pick it up if you find it for a good price. As far as the Blu-ray is concerned, there's really nothing to speak of. It is just the movie. It's literally just the movie. There are no special features on this at all. So that's what you are getting. But again, it's a movie that is enjoyable. I had a good time with it, and it's worth checking out. Anyway, guys, that's going to wrap it up. Yeah, so Nightmare Cinema, worth checking out if you can find it for a good price. But again, maybe there will be a Blu-ray re-release at some point, which adds some special features. If they ever do a sequel to Nightmare Cinema, I really hope that they flesh out the character of the projectionist, the character played by Mickey Rourke, because as I said, there's a lot of potential there. But I just felt that it was kind of a lost opportunity in this particular movie. But maybe they'll do something else with it in the second one, if they ever do a second one. But yeah, definitely worth checking this movie out. Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, take it easy.